Welcome back to the Cameron James Pension Transfer channel to all you pension subscribers. Okay, today the topic is why is defined benefit pension transfer advice so expensive? So when we're going through advice process with our clients, very often when it comes down to costs, you get a few clients every now and then who say things like, Dominic, all they need to do is sign a piece of paper. Why do I have to pay all these stupid fees? It's outrageous. And then they go on the rant. They blame the FCA, they blame the regulators in the market, they blame anyone they can think of as to why the pension transfer advice is so expensive. So today I'm here just to talk a little bit about why it is expensive and some of the things that you need to be aware of. Okay, so to start off with, to be working with a qualified pension transfer specialist, such as myself, you have to work with someone who has spent time, effort and energy in actually going and getting their qualifications and being inside the industry. Then they have to be working for a regulated advisory firm. Any regulated advisory firm will typically have overheads from the regulator or their parent company of anywhere between 10, 15, 20% of any transaction which they complete. Then on top of that, you have all the PI insurance which needs to be paid. PI insurance is effectively by, say in 5 years time, if you go away after doing your pension transfer and in 5 years time you decide, actually, I think XYZ Limited Financial Advisory Firm did a bad job, or I shouldn't have transferred my pension, whatever it might have been, you might go back and try and have litigation against them. So people have to pay insurance against people trying to go back and say they did something wrong, so to speak. So that's just a couple of the areas which work out as to why pension transfer advice or final salary pension transfer advice is so expensive. One of the other main reasons it's so expensive is because the market is shrinking. As you can see from the Financial Times, there is many topics which are talking about the number of financial or authorized number of financial advisory firms who can do DB pension transfers has massively shrunk over the past 3 years. The reasons for this is all the things I just mentioned here. A lot of advisory firms are just saying it's not worth it anymore and getting out of the market. It's complicated. The process changes every 3 months. As CEO, I can tell you how frustrating it is. Our team, we teach them everything. 3 months later, new regulation, new process, have to not necessarily start all over again, but have to go back, change the processes, all the flow and the modeling inside the company. We have to keep changing it on an ongoing basis. But I'm now going to run through a timeline with you, which is why I've got my computer here today, of a client, just to give you a bit of an understanding of what actually happens after your DB pension transfer advice has begun, or actually before the advice has even begun. So on my screen here, I'm just going to be running through for this client. So what we can see here with the client is the client got in touch with us on the, I think it was around the 10th of June. We then had a fact-finding meeting with the client on the 13th of June 2022. Fact-find and LOA completed. LOA sent off to his provider the next day. Within 24 hours, we sent his LOA to his pension scheme to request, and we already had the client's CETV. The client, on the meeting here on the 13th of June, the client gave me his CETV and said, Dominic, here you go, I'm ready for my advice process. I say, no you're not. Your CETV does not include some of the essential information that which we require to write your DB report. The client says, what? What do you mean my CETV doesn't have the information? Yep, there's many videos on the channel about missing information in CETVs that you need to read. Just because you've requested your CETV does not mean we can start your advice process. The number of clients I've had who have gone to the wire on their pension transfer because they have tried to do everything themselves rather than work with a professional. If you go and ask your scheme for a guaranteed CETV, how many pension transfers have you done before in your life? The answer is probably 0. How are you going to know whether it's missing 5 pieces of data or 35 pieces of data? We know because our transfer and support team will go through the paperwork straight away. So in this case, straight away on the 13th of June, we got the CETV back, we scanned it. On the 14th of June, we requested the missing information from no longer allow us to call or email them. They want to cut down communication with anybody and you have to put everything through the portal. 14th of June, pension service investigation. This client also had an issue where basically they were only promising to pay him 27 years worth of contributions when actually he had 30 years worth of contributions. This takes time and energy and effort in discussing this with the scheme. Then on the 20th of June, I chased I sent an email regarding the LOA and clarification about the client's pensionable service. On the 21st of June, we did some onboarding documents. 21st of June, pension service investigation with continuing. 21st of June, we signed some onboarding documents. Then we got the new case submission form ready for the advisory firm that's going to write the DB report. We then have to write the referral letter, which introduces our client to the DB report writer. We followed up with on the 23rd of June. They didn't respond yet. On the 24th of June, still no update from They hadn't responded yet. We completed some more forms with the client. Forms are sent off to PS. So we're now up to the 28th of June. We started with the client 2 weeks ago. Now, if we move on to the following month. Now, as we move into July, so we received additional information from the scheme on the 6th of July. Then we had confirmation from that the CETV was indeed correct and the correct 27 versus 30 years had been applied. So that basically took 1 month, or just under 1 month, for to confirm that there was the correct amount of years inside the scheme. We then go through the process here of getting the paperwork ready for the submission. Then we have to pay for the DB report. Then we transfer chase again on the 1st of August. I chased them again on the 1st of August. On the 2nd of August, I had an update saying that obviously there was bits and pieces of the CETV, the expiry date. It was then ascertained by the DB report writer there was even further information missing from the scheme. So then throughout the month of August, we again spent chasing the team at in terms of getting that information. So this is just a very small example of whatever you see as a client is the tip of the iceberg. You see, okay, I did a fact find, I completed an LOA, they sent me a report, the advice was either to transfer or not transfer, I took that advice and went ahead of it or whatever I wanted to do with that advice. That is the tip of the iceberg. Behind the scenes, we are continuously contacting your scheme, gaining information, preparing all the forms, and anyone who's been through a full advice process with us, nobody has ever said to me at the end of an advice process, oh my God, you guys are a rip-off. You guys are charlatans. I don't know how you can sleep at night. It's often the opposite. They say, Dominic, how do you and your team have such patience to continue with this pension transfer? It's taken 7 months and you guys have been so efficient. I cannot imagine how long it would have took. I probably would have missed my CETV if I was working with a firm who wasn't organized and wasn't efficient. So when we look at that pension transfer and that timeline, how many staff do you think are involved in doing it? I think it's just myself. One person chasing and doing this information. It is literally a team of people. This transfer alone, I'd say inside Cameron James, has probably touched at one point or another 9 or 10 different staff inside the company. When you look at different staff, PAYE, national insurance, etc., all this has to be paid for. And obviously we can't run the company at a loss. We have to run it as a profit. So obviously all of that has to be paid for inside your pension transfer advice. And then on top of that, we need to make some type of margin to be profitable as a company. So guys, I hope this is a little bit valuable for you to understand that pension transfer advice, final salary pension transfer advice is super complicated. It's not easy, it's not cheap, and it's not simple. If it was, there'd be firms out there offering, I'll do it for £1,000 or I'll do it for £2,000 or £3,000, whatever it is. That is not there because it is not possible to do so. Guys, if you have any questions about this, please let me know. If you want to have a chat about your CTV or transferring your DB scheme, you can book in below via my Calendly link for a one-on-one conversation with myself or one of our senior financial advisors. And as always, guys, take care with your UK pension assets.